What's up, Falcons fans, and welcome to episode 21 of Talkin Birdy, an Atlanta Falcons podcast powered by SportsTalkATL.com. I am your host, Matt Karoly. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Karoly, Karoly spelled Karoly, and I'm joined as usual by my two co-hosts from the Sports Talk ATL team, Jake Gordon. You can find him on Twitter at Can'tGuardJake, and Alex Lord. You can find him on Twitter at GoSportsTalk. Go spelled Geaux. And we're here to recap week 2. Another loss for the Falcons, but I think there were more positives this week than last week. And we'll also get into the week 3 showdown in New York against the 0-2, equally 0-2 New York Giants. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
Good. It's a late one, but I'm excited to talk about this because I got stuff to say. And LSU's back. So
You're off the fire, Coach O bandwagon. You're off of that.
No, I think he should still go, but I think that maybe Lane Kiffin comes to BR next year. I think when LSU
there's that, or I was
thinking,
thinking, with the way Joe Brady's cooking things up in Carolina, would he prefer to be a college head coach versus a pro head coach? Maybe they come calling him.
The Bengals.
I think his
Jake's still on that, huh?
NFL. I think he's definitely an NFL.
Yeah, I mean, if the NFL is calling, why not? But I don't know how much he enjoyed his time in LSU. Maybe he enjoyed it a lot and would like to lead that program. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk Falcons. Before we get into the week 2 stuff, since Alex says he's got a lot to talk about, let's talk a little roster moves like we will customarily do. Falcons, we'll get the smaller ones out of the way right now. Falcons cut Elliott Fry, who's becoming the new John Wetzel, making many tours through Atlanta. They cut him, re-signed Jawan Green to the practice squad. Could have something to do with Russell Gage's week-to-week ankle injury. Also, something to do with that, the Falcons did work out John Smokey Brown, veteran receiver, formerly of the Bills. Had a cup of coffee with the Raiders in the offseason and was deemed one of the better value signings according to Pro Football Focus, and he ended up not even making the team. But, me personally, I think that's a great move if they bring him in. He's the type of vertical threat that I think potentially this team's lacking. And, we'll get into it. That's one of my biggest concerns right now is the lack of a vertical passing game. Falcons are one of the worst as far as average yards per target or average yards per throw. So bringing John Brown in, whether it's due to the Russell Gage injury or not, I think can add an element of speed and verticality to the offense. And then lastly, they signed longtime Chiefs punter, 2-time Pro Bowler Dustin Colquitt to provide some competition for Cam Niziolek, who had a dreadful performance. There's no way around that. He, 2 shank putts really led to short fields and quick Bucs touchdown drives. So, guys, what are your thoughts? What's the one that stands out to you as far as some of these moves? Jake, I'll let you start us off.
I mean, that's how Niziolek was at Georgia, man. He would bomb a 60-yarder and then, he'd kick one 15 yards off the side of his foot. I mean, that's just who he is. I mean, Dustin Colquitt was not good for the Chiefs last time he played, but I guess it's good to bring in some competition. I mean, I don't think you're really going to get anybody much better at this point in the process. So,
yeah, I tweeted something out about him being from UGA. Of course, he was, and some woman on there who just, obviously a UGA fan, just like coming at me like a mom would, like, hey, you don't talk about him like that. But he was so bad. And it wasn't even that like both of his punts were so bad, but it like didn't matter. One of his punts couldn't have come at a worse time. The Falcons were really they weren't coming back, but they had all of the momentum. That's not to say that Brady couldn't have taken the Bucs like 80 yards that short drive, but still, like, it couldn't have come at a worse time. He wouldn't have been on the plane if I was in charge. I mean, it's like inexcusable. One time's okay. It wasn't at a bad point. The second time, it was even worse. And it was at the worst point in the game it could have been. I mean, I don't really know I think John Brown's a good signing, but like it's, the average person would tell you, the Falcons can't block long enough to get John Brown deep. But I mean, if you don't have that guy and you can get that guy, even if you can't throw to that guy, you still sign him. I mean, it would be a no-brainer in my eyes just because the Falcons don't have that kind of guy. I'm not saying he's going to come in and, start catching 50, 60-yard bombs because we know that, like, protection, even if Matt's arm can reach there, I don't really know if it can anymore. But the offensive line can't even hold up long enough for a deep route to develop. So I like that they're being aggressive, but, I don't know how much he's really going to get, even if he gets signed.
Yeah, no, I saw a thing where they said apparently the workout went well, but they had no plans to sign him imminently, which, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it seems to me, because there was a couple play calls. Arthur Smith, I guess, is, trying to make water into wine with this personnel, but there was a couple play calls that were just so dumb. I couldn't even believe, was it like the fact that on the first drive you didn't go for the fourth down, and then you were in plus territory. They were in Tampa Bay's territory on the first drive, and they didn't go for a fourth and short. Then on the second offensive possession in their own territory, they do go for it, and they quarterback sneak it. I mean, is that not the dumbest thing I've ever heard? I mean, what? That's inexcusable. That's inexcusable. I mean, is it not? Like, tell me.
Yeah, so for me, with the short yardage situation, I agree. I think that was mishandled. It was mishandled in the fact that, coach the team that you have. The Falcons do not have a mauling, man-blocking offensive line. And when you're going up against Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, if you're expecting to win going right at those guys, you're both stupid and stubborn. And he showed that on Sunday a little bit, that he thought, I get it. You want to believe in your guys, but come on. Be calculated, be smart with it. Get those guys on the move. You're an outside zone blocking coach and team. If you're going to go for it on fourth down, you can't run right at them. I mean, this team learned that lesson with the Dirk Cutter years. And I thought, this coaching staff would be a little bit more heady and realize that. And on two possessions, the fourth and short, running a QB sneak, dumb. And then even later in the game, 3rd and 1, and you're running Cordero Patterson up the middle. That's not how you're going to beat the Tampa Bay Bucs with the guys that you got. So,
well, also there was a play late in the game where they put Russell Gage in the Wildcat. I hate that play call. I hate that play call so much.
I just hate the play call because it was on the goal line. Why the fuck would you call it?
Why would you do that? And also, why are people still running Wildcat and keeping the quarterback on the field? Like, everybody knows. It makes no sense.
Keeping the quarterback on the field is the dumb part because you're playing 10 on 11. Then I'm not as upset with the Wildcat look because you have Cordero Patterson, Russell Gage in there. Those are two flexible, multi-dimensional players. They didn't execute. That was upsetting. But I'm with you as far as leaving Matt Ryan out there. What is the point? Bring on another weapon. And you would think a cutting edge guy like Arthur Smith would do that. But again, it's the same old type of play call that we saw from Dirk Cutter and again, and even Sark and those days. It can work, but playing 10 on 11 is not smart football. So there's that. And then, for me, I want to get into the lack of the downfield passing because that's the most troubling thing for me. And I know other analysts out there pointed out that the Titans did rely on a bit of yak in their passing game. But you look at Ryan Tannehill per next gen stats, his average intended air yards throw was still in the middle 8s, which, is up towards the top half of the league. Falcons right now are at 4.9, which is second worst to only Andy Dalton and the Chicago Bears, not company you want to be a part of. It's tough because, we still haven't gotten hands on the all-22. to really understand. I've seen bits and pieces of people posting it. For those that have it, there was that play where they run the boot rollout to the right, and the throw went to Cordell Patterson, behind the line of scrimmage all the way to the left, and he had blockers, and the result worked out, but I didn't like the process. When you're running a play like that, I'm hoping for a downfield shot, and we didn't get it. And looking at that clip, there weren't opportunities, but there's other reads in there that hopefully down the line teams, they'll bite on the short throw to the running back, and you can leak out, like Kyle Pitts leaked out on that play. It was just well covered. But the lack of downfield passing, do you guys think it's a product of the offensive line, or do you think this is really who Arthur Smith is as a play caller? Alex, I'll let you take that one first.
I think it's a combination of everything. I think that he can't consistently run the ball, so the deep play action is hard. His offensive line can't hold up in protection, so he has to keep, a tight end, a fullback. He has to keep multiple blockers in that aren't out running routes. So it's a combination of everything. I mean, I think it's definitely not who he is. I mean, if he had Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs offense, I'm sure he would be dialing up an equal amount of deep shots. But the Falcons personnel is just, I was a little bit more optimistic than I should have been, honestly. And it's riding on Jalen Mayfield. Jalen Mayfield and Matt Hennessy aren't individually like the worst offensive linemen ever, but them together is just the worst thing ever, because the lack of communication there is just awful. I mean, maybe it's Matt Ryan's arm. I mean, Jake, what do you think? I mean, this isn't just him. I mean, I think that it's the offense.
I mean, I think Matt Ryan has lost some arm talent, but I think Arthur Smith is not calling a lot of downfield, just concepts just in general, because he doesn't trust the offensive line, which I totally get. But as a pioneer of what I like to call the fuck it and chuck it offense, when you're down, 30 points, I mean, who cares if he gets sacked? Just open it up. Send Kyle Pitts on a 15-yard post route, let him get a one-on-one maybe, and throw it to him one-on-one. I mean, really, it's better than what you've been doing, obviously. I know Matt Ryan completed 76% of his passes. I know 2 of the interceptions were not his fault. But at the end of the day, you got to start taking a chance. This boring, dink and dunk, whatever you're doing, it hasn't worked for 2 weeks in a row. And yeah, I get it. You got close against Tampa. You started off pretty nice against Philly in the first quarter, but you lost both games pretty handily. So, I mean, at some point, I think you just got to do something different.
Yeah, and I'm not willing yet. Again, I'm not willing to make sweeping declarations on pretty much anything, and that includes Matt Ryan's arm right now. Yes, the ball to Ridley where he double pumped and had a pretty clean pocket to step up to and threw a 50-50 ball. Not great, but I'm not going to look at one throw and just, all right then and there, say it's cooked. Usually Matt Ryan's deep ball takes a couple games to get that rhythm. It makes sense, especially the lack of preseason reps. Hindsight's always 20/20. To get those reps maybe would have helped. But there were some positives to look at. Again, I think the score is very misleading in this one compared to the one in week one. Week one, it was a blowout. They kind of got ran out of their own building. Here, I mean, it's a 28-25 ball game, and they have the ball with a chance to either tie or take the lead in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's all I was looking for out of this week 2 contest. And then, some Falcons luck creeped in the fourth quarter with that, deflected up in the air, pick 6 by Mike Edwards. The one in the other pick 6, I will put that on Matt Moore, pressing, forcing the issue. But the interception to start the second half, deflection by Vita Vea into the hands of Shaq Barrett. I mean, that's just fluky. And Bucs get a short field at the 20-yard line, and unfortunately, Fabian Morrow had a chance to take the ball back, and you can't give Tom Brady second chances. And when you do, he makes you pay for it, and they were able to capitalize and go up 28-10. So there were things like that where you clean those up. You clean up the situational football, and this team's competing with arguably the best team right now in football in the Bucs. So I do think there's positives. Yes, there's negatives that we're going to harp on because we're disappointed in the start. But, you talk about an offense that outside of that first half of situational and end of first half situation where you can't always count on a touchdown. You're hoping for at least some points. This offense went 3 for 3 in red zone TD conversions, which was a step up from the 0 for 2 in week 1 that really, lost the momentum for them in that Eagles game. Again, I do think the defense did have timely stops like they did in week 1, given the offense a chance to at least get back into it.
Here's my problem, though. You talk about the red zone and on fourth down too. I see Arthur Smith make some of these calls, like the wildcat and then the quarterback sneak and then the fake whatever punt that was. And I just look at my screen and I'm like, are you an idiot? Because I'm an idiot and I wouldn't do that. Like that's stupid. It's like, let's just call it what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. It's stupid.
Yeah,
I don't understand why you're getting cute there. You drafted Kyle Pitts for a reason. You passed on Justin Fields. You passed on Penei Sewell. Throw him the damn ball on fourth down or third down or wherever you're at in the red zone on fourth down. Like I just don't understand that rationale, and it's a little concerning to me in this point in the process.
I mean, his usage needs to be as high, if not higher, than Calvin Ridley. It is, and it could be. The only thing I will say before I just say how ridiculous it is maybe Kyle Pitts doesn't know the entire offense, doesn't know the nuances of the offense and what he's supposed to do against certain defensive concepts, if they're pressing, if they're playing inside or outside leverage. There's a number of things that you have to know. Say that,
I hope it's not a whole like rookie earn your snaps type thing, because if it is, you're 0-2. Let your best players play.
Well, it can't be that. I don't think it's that. It can't be that. He is so talented. You can literally throw a bubble screen to him, throw a 5-yard slant to him, throw a 50-yard post route to him. He can literally do anything. I mean, there's no reason not to do it. And if it is that, Jake, I mean, that's even worse. That's even worse. There's no way that. Yeah, inexcusable.
Well, he did. I just want to confirm. I'm looking this up now. I mean, he got the second most snaps, I think, outside of Calvin Ridley.
Right. Yeah, but I'm talking situational football. Like I'm saying, like fourth down, and you have Russell Gage running up to the line of scrimmage to run some mock fake punt, whatever. It's 4th and 1. You drafted a monster tight end for a reason. Throw him the damn ball. Like, let's not do this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you in that regard. In that, I don't want to see running the ball straight up the middle, because that's not who this team has been since Matt Ryan's been here. I mean, they've never really. Maybe in the early years they were smash mouth with Michael Turner, but ever since Michael Turner started, his tank starting to get empty, they were a Matt Ryan throw the football type of team. And on 4th and short, put the ball in your best player's hands, put it in Matt Ryan's hands, get it to guys like Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. I'd rather see them do that on 4th and short than run it up the middle at the best nose tackle in football and one of the best defensive tackles in football over the last decade. So you're not going to get any arguments with me on that. And again, football coaches are prideful. And Arthur Smith is a former offensive lineman, so he probably in his head thinks, hey, I can get a yard running it up the middle, but
I'm not even.
It's not that simple sometimes.
I'm talking about the wildcat. I'm talking about the quarterback sneak.
Well, when else did they run the wildcat other than that? It was like 2nd and goal when they did Cordell Patterson.
One time was too many. One time was too many. I was really hoping we were getting a coach that wasn't going to do stuff like that.
I agree. And Arthur Smith can say all he wants about pad level and like getting mean. And, he wants that mentality brought to this team. And maybe that's what he's trying to do. But like win games. I mean, you're here to win games. Like I get a culture takes time to develop and instill in your players and everybody in the building. I get it. I get all that. But your offensive line isn't that. I mean, there are 3 well below average players on that offensive line, and I don't know how you scheme around that. It's near impossible. It's easier said than done. It really is, but I don't understand how you're just not feeding Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts on the perimeters with, those short passes, just possession, just give Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley a chance to do something, because
the whip route that Julio was so good at, put Kyle Pitts in the slot on a whip route. I would rather see that than a fake punt with Russell Gage, fake pooch kick, whatever that was.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. I think that, there comes a certain point where you kind of have to say, is this him, or is this, did you hire the right guy? I mean, I know it takes time to really do things, and 2 games is way too quick to judge, but it's been 2 pretty, it's been 1.5 good quarters out of 8. That's not good. That's not good. Maybe 2 quarters out of 8.
You have the Jets and the Giants, and I think Washington is a good team, but they're missing Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think you have 3 beatable teams on the schedule. You already had 1 beatable team on the schedule, and you got the doors blown off of you. But I think you have 3 very winnable games coming up, and after these 3 games, like I said, I'm not going to throw in the towel on him and say he doesn't know what he's doing or he's not the right guy. But man, if you can't come away with a win in one of these 3 games, I don't know where your next win's coming from.
Yeah, this 3-week stretch is going to tell me a lot of whether this team is very bad and we'll be picking high in the draft and really having to consider hitting the reset button, or maybe they're a middle of the pack team that we'll see. Maybe they continue to improve. But before we do talk about the first of those 3 matchups with the Giants, I want to get your thoughts on the defense, because we've talked a lot about the offense, and yes, I'm with you. Play calling has left a lot to be desired. What are our thoughts on their defense? I know the defense expectations weren't as high as the offensive expectations, I think, across the board of all 3 of us. But what are our takes on the defense after 2 weeks of watching this Dean Pease unit?
I liked a lot of what I saw from AJ Terrell. Obviously, you have to look at a complete game, but man, he made 2 incredible plays. Lots of nice range. Isaiah Oliver looked a lot better in the nickel. I remember he came up on I think it was a 3rd down. He came up on a clutch 3rd down and made a big tackle. Love what I saw out of him. Safety play, maybe the worst in the NFL. Let's be frank here. It is bad. Jalen Hawkins and Richie Grant, I don't know how much more they would offer, but I would rather see those guys play. And it's just really frustrating when you had a Malik Hooker on the market. You had a Desmond King on the market. DeMonte Casey is playing out of his mind right now. And you just have some of the poorest safety play in the league. It's not good. But, maybe that means we'll get to see more Jalen Hawkins and Richie Grant. I like the upside on both of those guys. But as far as the secondary goes, some good, a lot of bad. Yeah,
it hurts to say that Duron Harmon – I mean, I don't feel bad saying Eric Harris, needs to be literally on the field, only in the box. If he's
maybe
in cover 2 or trying to, cover a 3rd, that guy can't do anything. I'd rather Eric Harris go off and Jalen Hawkins or Richie Grant come on with Duron Harmon and keep Duron Harmon in the box, because he's definitely better in coverage than Eric Harris. But my problem is the lack of the ability to like get any sort of movement on the defensive line, whether that be in the run game or rushing the passer. I know I'm going to get pushed back from Matt on this, but Steven Means is, and he's not going to argue with me that he's not a replacement player, but this guy, he's a backup on 31 other teams right now. He offers nothing in defending the run. There were 3 or 4 plays where I saw him like 6 to 7 to 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. He had a couple of nice pass rush reps, but he's the best we have, so I get it, but it's bad. And I don't see why Ogundeji can't get early down reps over Means. He's bad. And I'm not saying that our run defense was that bad, because actually I think our defense, it is surprising me, because Matt spoke on it earlier that they did come up with timely stops. The reason why the Falcons were within 3 that game was because the defense came up with forced Tom Brady into 2 punts, back-to-back punts. So that can't be forgotten. And then, Matt Ryan, they had 2 pick sixes, and it was basically the defense they couldn't do anything at that point. So I just think, there's no harm in trying Ogundeji early, I mean, what is he going to get scarred for life and never be able to, come back and do something? What do you think, Matt? I know you're going to say Steven Means is our best bet, but like,
yeah, I mean, the pushback is that Steven Means is better than Jacob Toyota Mariner. He's a better option than Brandon Copeland. Michael Walker, it's a different role with Michael Walker. I mean, even though we both talked earlier before the season started, I'd like to see Michael Walker play that Sam role, the edge role. He did it in college, but you look at the usage and they're just seeing him as their third off-ball linebacker behind Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun. He played like 5 snaps, I think, Michael Walker, which is disappointing because I think he has more to offer than that. But that's just the reality of the situation. So for me, Means is the second best option. Adi Ogundeji did have an uptick, and I think he'll continue to have an uptick. And I'm fine if you want him in an early down role. I mean, I've liked he clearly Ogundeji knows how to use his length well, and it's been very apparent. Like even against some pretty good tackles, like even last week against Donovan Smith. I mean, he knows how to use his length. He's not being overmatched necessarily. He can control the edge. I mean, it might be good to use him on early downs, stopping the run. I don't think necessarily Means is a liability there. Maybe he hasn't played well enough there, but he has flashed as a pass rusher. I don't think they're necessarily still using him the right way. I was saying Means is the best interior pass rusher, not named Grady Jarrett. And on passing situations, I'd like to see him inside next to Grady. And, again, you're thin there. I guess Dante Fowler is one of the edges and maybe Ogundeji is the other. There's not a lot of options. And we knew this going in is they were bargain shopping along the edge there. And, with the whole situation with Mingo, they were counting on him to probably be the second guy opposite Fowler in most sets, and Means would have been the third guy. But now Means is bumped up. So it is what it is. I just don't think you're going to get better by playing, Jacob Toyota Mariner or Copeland more. I mean, again, Ogundeji snaps I think are going to rise. And right now he's a 5th round pick. I don't think he should be, bring him on slowly. And I think they're going to continue to do that. And, I said in our group chat, if they continue to not win football games, that's when you're going to see the younger guys even more. You're going to see Ogundeji, playing starter snaps. You're likely going to see Hawkins more.
I'm just wondering where Michael Walker is. Like, I don't.
Yeah, no, that's been a disappointment. Again, let me just confirm. I'm pretty sure it was 5 defensive snaps.
I don't understand.
For Michael Walker.
Yeah, no, he
5. And 27 special teamers. So really, all they're doing right now is counting on him as a core special teamer, which he's got more to offer. He's a chess piece. You can use him in different ways, and I'm hoping that changes, but I'm worried. And that's maybe been my biggest criticism right now is the usage of him. Because I think the pass rush did kind of get going a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. There was time where Brady, I mean, obviously he was sacked 3 times compared to Matt Ryan was only sacked once, and that doesn't always tell the full story, but they got to him at times. They timed up a nice Deion Jones blitz. There was one where, they ran a nice game or stunt with Marlon Davidson that Brady just kind of, chalked it up as a loss and kind of fell down. So I thought they got to him at times. Certainly they could have made his job tougher. But
I think
again, baby steps. I think they made baby steps compared to the week 1 matchup.
I know Deion Jones beat Ronald Jones on that blitz, but that was the worst blitz pickup I've ever seen in my entire life. And 9 times out of 10, that running back at least gets a shoulder or a hand on that blitzing linebacker. So I don't know how often that's going to happen again, but I mean, I don't know why Deion Jones isn't blitzing more. I mean, he's so good at it. He could be as effective or, close to Devin White. He's that explosive. I mean, he's that explosive. There's no doubt about it. Devin White's definitely bigger and stronger, but I mean, I don't know what they're doing. And I think that Micah Walker can play strong side linebacker, and this is what we were talking about earlier in the group chat. I know he's playing off-ball linebacker, and I'm not saying that, the coaching staff is going to do this because it's not where he's practicing. He doesn't know the rep. He hasn't done the reps, but I'm questioning why they wouldn't do that. Why would you not even think to do that? I mean, that obviously they watched last year's film and Michael Walker was used there. They didn't like what they saw and they decided this way. So maybe we're not seeing it clearly. I don't know, but it seems obvious to me. I don't know.
Yeah, if it was me calling the shots, I mean, my best lineup that you can throw out with who they have is, Dante Fowler rushing off the edge against left tackles. You have Grady Jarrett inside as a 3-tech. Marlon Davidson, Taquan Graham. I'm starting to try to phase out Tyler Davison. Honestly, he hasn't played very well, and yes, he agreed to take a pay cut, but I'm getting close to wanting to see Mike Pennell on early downs. I think he's a great run stuffing nose tackle. Strong side defensive end. I think this is where Steven Means, again, his best role might be, mixing in with Jonathan Bullard, who's played well on early downs, and then just to finish, that's where I put Michael Walker then as that fifth guy, the Sam linebacker on the line of scrimmage. Again, that was a role he did very well at Fresno State. I'm with you. I just now the reality of the situation is
I think that's smart because Jonathan Bullard has been actually playing very well. Very well.
Yeah.
But only on early downs. I mean,
well, and that's what he is. He's a run stuffer.
That's what he
really.
is. You're right. That's what he is. If we can get anybody on the field on third down other than him, that's kind of what you need to do. So I could get behind that to a certain degree. I definitely can. I think any outside linebacker is more effective against a guard than a tackle. It really doesn't matter who it is. So you might as well do it. I mean,
because he's quick. He's got quick hands. I think Means does, and that's why I thought he flashed quite a bit last year when they put him inside. Is his speed and quickness, his hand quickness with the hump move. That's where he's most effective. I mean, I did again. I was very shocked when I did the rewatch and saw what he did to Tristan Wirfs on that one rep. I didn't, again, Tristan Wirfs doesn't get that beat cleanly. What other guys besides a Grady Jarrett? Even Dante Fowler's not. I haven't seen him do a move like that. I mean, his sack came really on kind of a hustle play.
It wasn't Tom Brady holding it. Tom Brady
it was more of a coverage sack, if anything. I mean, credit him for stripping the ball, but Steven Means actually made a great pass rush win on Wirfs. He just needed an extra half second. Tom Brady got it out at the 2-second mark to Chris Godwin in the back corner of the end zone for a touchdown. But those are the types of plays that I think Means can offer that no other pass rusher, again, outside of Grady Jarrett rushing from the interior can do. So that's why I think you're not getting any better by diminishing Means. I mean, again, Means shouldn't be playing as many snaps as he is because I agree he's a rotational guy, but this is the hand we're dealt, and they're just going to have to make it work. But we've talked a lot about that. Let's try to get into this Giants game right now. And I was able to rewatch both of the Giants' first two games, and I kind of came away thinking, yes, the Giants are 0-2. I really think they should have won that Washington game. The Denver game, not so much, but they did some good things. I think this is kind of I don't want to overlook this game. I do agree. Jake talked about this is a 3-game stretch where you're hoping you can pull 2 out of 3 and go to 2-3 at the bye week. But I wouldn't take them lightly. Daniel Jones has been, quietly impressive. Pro Football Focus is 6th rated passer. And for me, the biggest thing I'm kind of concerned about, and we saw it in week 1 with Jalen Hurts' legs, is Daniel Jones is an underrated runner as well. They run some zone read with him. So I don't know, I'm hoping the game plan is either better executed or they definitely need to guard against Jones's legs. What do you guys think about this matchup? What do you want to talk about? What stands out to you with the Giants from your research? Jake, I'll let you start us off.
So I'm going to put myself on a bit of a I guess, a bit of a pedestal here. I really don't think Daniel Jones is that bad. I don't think he's that good, but I really don't think he's that bad. Somebody put it perfectly. They said Daniel Jones is just goofy looking enough to where defenses don't respect his athleticism, but he's just athletic enough to make him pay for it. And I think that's true in a sense. They still have Saquon Barkley and, fantasy football, yada, yada, yada. Saquon Barkley is still a really good running back. They have Kenny Galladay. They have Evan Ingram, which when he can catch the ball, he's really good. And, it's a solid offense. They're not world beaters, but they have a solid offense. They really should have made the playoffs last year, honestly, if the Eagles hadn't thrown that last game, allegedly. But good defense, too. They got playmakers on defense. I would say they value special teams with Joe Judge, but as we saw last week, that's not always the case. But they do have that extra rest because they played on Thursday. And I'm not overlooking the Giants. I don't think the Falcons can really afford to overlook anybody at this point. But I'm not saying if you're a Falcons fan and you're listening to this and you think the Falcons are just going to walk all over the Giants, I'd say change your tune.
I don't think any Falcons fan is thinking that right now. If they do, they need to really correct themselves because the Giants they're a bad football team, but they're just as good as the Falcons are. I mean, if not better. You did list they're kind of in a similar situation as the Falcons where they have all these shiny toys that you just listed off, Saquon Barkley, all these people, and they do not have a good offensive line. And it's not to say they haven't tried. I mean, they've spent money there, draft capital. I mean, they've spent a lot there. So it's not to say they haven't tried. But their offensive line isn't good. So I think that's what's holding them back. I think Daniel Jones is an all right quarterback. I mean, I wasn't impressed with anything he did really. I mean, he uses his legs as, he is athletic. I'm not denying that, but I don't know. I just wasn't that impressed with him. I think that Jalen Hurts executed the Eagles offense much more efficiently than Daniel Jones executed the Giants offense. So I'll be curious to see how the Falcons defense matches up, honestly.
Yeah, again, I think this has the makings potentially of a shootout because, again, we talked about the skill players. I think the Giants, they've really built up some talent over the last couple of years. People like to dunk on Dave Gettleman on Twitter, and sometimes they're justified in doing it. But you got Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, who's a very underrated and has been very consistent over the course of the last 10 plus games that the Giants have played. They brought in Kenny Galladay, who, can moss some guys in that jump ball scenario. Darius Slayton, I was impressed with him, some of the downfield looks that he's gotten. Evan Ingram can never stay healthy, but when he can, he's certainly someone to be reckoned with. And then, they brought in Kyle Rudolph. They got Caden Smith, who's, for a third tight end, might be one of the better third tight ends in all football. And then, obviously they drafted Kadarius Toney, and they haven't gotten the returns on him early on. But if he does factor in, again, it's a deep skill player group. It just comes down to can the blocking hold up? And I think this might really be a battle of the bad O lines, and whoever has the worst O line, that could cost them the game. And looking at the flip side of it, when you look at how the Falcons offensive line could potentially hold up, the strength of this defensive line, unfortunately, is the interior, which that's the weakness of the Falcons offensive line. So, the advantage right there, you'd say, is the Giants. I do like some pieces on defense that they have. I think they have an underrated secondary. They brought in a few guys, James Bradbury they brought in last year and really was one of the better corners in all of football. After coming over from Carolina this offseason, they brought in Adoree Jackson, who, again, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch at cornerback. And then you got Logan Ryan, who's kind of a Swiss Army knife. And, Jabril Peppers, Xavier McKinney, two younger safeties that they brought over in the last couple of years. It's not a bad secondary. I want to get your thoughts on Blake Martinez, being that you're a Packers fan. I know, or at least my memory is that the Packers, he got some criticism in Green Bay. Is that right?
He's terrible.
Yeah, he's terrible.
I don't know.
I think
he's improved since coming to New York. He's always around the ball.
Probably. He probably has improved.
Based on me watching those games.
He's limited athletically, so he'll never be like Luke Kuechly was smart, but he was also a hell of an athlete. Blake Martinez is a volume tackler. Sure, he's always around the ball, but he's never at the ball. He's never making a difference. He's at the ball or he's meeting the ball 4 yards past the line of scrimmage. Or, he's near the ball or the receiver caught it 8 yards down the field. Like he's always right where the action should be, but he's never with his nose in it. I think that our defensive line was never as good as the Giants is right now. So he'll probably look better just because of that alone. The Giants want to keep him free and kind of just let him, pretty much make every tackle, which he will, but it'll be 3 yards down the field if, the offensive line gets any kind of push. But that leads me to Leonard Williams is as good, if not better, than any interior defender that the Falcons have faced thus far. And I know that's kind of wild to hear, but he is. And he could make Jalen Mayfield look like he did in week 1. I know he improved in week 2, but he only improved from really bad to bad. So it still wasn't impressive. He still looked lost. He doesn't use his hands. He's trying to block people with his body, which is just, these guys are too good for that. I mean, you have to use your hands. They're way too good. They'll just throw you aside. And Leonard Williams could wreck a game plan as well as, not as Aaron Donald, but Leonard Williams is a top 5 interior defender in this league, or at least right outside the top 5. Grady Jarrett they are as good as Grady Jarrett. I mean, he's the real deal. So I think that Jalen Mayfield's going to have another rough day, and hopefully the communication with him and Matt Hennessy is a little bit better because it wasn't good last week either. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's another test. I do think this is, again, and I'm not saying it's like a bad defensive line, and the strength is in the interior, but I think the Bucs and the Eagles have a better defensive line. So it's still going to be a test. He's still going to have his hands full, but I think they have a better shot against Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence than they did against Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea. It's a good point you made about his blocking technique. They always say that holding occurs on every play when you're talking about blocking. And I don't feel like he takes advantage of that based on the reps that we've seen. He literally tries to just open hand, try to block these guys instead of like getting into their pad level almost and trying to lock them up, win the rep early and lock them up. And Jalen Mayfield thinks, he can't do that, or he's trying to use athleticism to keep him just in front and just hit a quick punch. And that's going to be enough. But I don't think he's strong enough for that yet. I mean, you look at his frame, and we talked about his frame. He's not strong enough to just punch a guy and freeze him. You got to get your hands on him. And we saw him do it at Michigan. Like when he gets his hands on a guy, he could potentially take him for a ride, or at least he could do with college defensive line, maybe not necessarily in the NFL, but you got to get your hands on these guys. And I haven't really seen him do that yet. And hopefully that comes with the development. And again, they're going to be patient with him. Although I guess we should point out that this is week 3, Josh Andrews, 3-week time frame. That's the lower limit of when you have to be on IR. So he could potentially come off IR in week 4. And Arthur Smith said, hopefully he's
Josh
close.
Andrews, man. He's going to fix all of our problems.
Well, look, the plan all along was Josh Andrews. I don't know now if he comes back.
Yeah, I'm not making fun of you for it. I know what you're saying, but still, it's like we're at this point.
No, it's not going to fix it. But
this is serious. That I think he will be an upgrade purely based on the fact that he's a veteran, so he's seen more things.
He's been worse for longer.
I know it's just bad.
It is bad. Let me say to you here. I think again, it's not a matter of maybe if Josh Andrews is bad, that's fine. I just think Mayfield needs to develop, and I think he just needs a redshirt year, and that's fine. I mean, people say, well, you can develop on the field. there's so much. Again, you're putting your quarterback at risk. You're putting a lot of things at risk by just throwing out a guy who's not ready. And I just don't think Mayfield's ready. I think all of us can agree he's not ready. And I'd rather just have a veteran stopgap there, and you might get the same results at times.
Yeah, this is a serious comment too. I think Jalen Mayfield actually needs to develop his body. I think he actually needs to put on functional strength. I think he's big. I get that. But I think he's not the right kind. I think he could seriously, I'm not speaking on the man. I don't know the guy. I think if he really committed to a strict diet and a strict workout regimen, he could actually get really big. And I think there's something there with his athleticism.
Yeah. It's definitely harder to say than he's do, dumpy. Especially when you're that. Yeah. I was going to say this, and it's difficult to just say it nicely, but he's undefined. I mean, you look at other.
You called him doughy. That's a good word for it.
Yeah, he is. But you look at you look at Quentin Nelson's arms, or any developed guard. He's a guard. So he's got to be big, and he looks like. I mean, his body is just. He looks like a 17-year-old kid still. I know he's a massive human being. He's a massive human being.
No, I know you're right too. But I have a solution. Let's just give him some tren.
Yeah, get him on the juice. Yeah, get him on some juice.
Well, yeah, and I just don't think it's fair to him. Kid's played right tackle his whole career, and you're just gonna right side no less. So now you're shifting him to an entirely different position. And to the left side, and you think that's going to be good? Again, I thought it always called for a 1-year development plan, and they probably hoped for that as well. And Andrews goes down, and I think that just kind of exposes them, and their plan was not right to just only sign Josh Andrews and then draft a guy that's going to be a developmental guard.
Yeah. And they could have what do you think by just picking Trey Smith instead, or Wyatt Davis instead, or Creed Humphrey instead. All three of those guys have been really good. But
or sign another veteran too. Don't just
Austin Reeder.
You're thin at offensive line.
I was asking for Austin Reeder in March, and the guy got signed a week ago. I just don't understand the rationale. But you know what,
Matt,
I'm not gonna get into it.
Yeah, Matt, do you think we win this game? Do you think the Falcons beat the Giants? Honest, not as a fan.
It's going to be close. I don't think it's a given. I'm kind of. I know you guys won't like this. I kind of don't want to make predictions until I see them win a game for once, and then kind of have an idea. Right now, I don't want to predict anything, but I do think this is a game they can lose. Again, they're on the road, and they're playing a game that has a team that has additional rest again. Unfortunately, the schedulers book them against a team that played on Thursday night, so they got a mini bye week, some rest, and some extra preparation time. I think the Giants can win this game. I think it's going to be, I really do think it could be a shootout, because you got two offenses that are skilled, and again, I think it's going to come down to which offensive line plays the best or the worst. I do want to point out though too, because Jason Garrett. He's a bottom 5 offensive coordinator. Can we maybe can we agree on that?
I think it's funny that Giants fans are so mad. They're like, dude, Jason Garrett's terrible. I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's just the same Jason Garrett he's always been. Did you expect anything else?
Yeah, that was
he's bad. He's bad.
That was a hire that it's a head scratcher, and I'm hoping maybe he gets in the way. Not that Arthur Smith has impressed any of us, with his play calling, but if
I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be the worst game of the week, the most visually unappealing game of the week.
I agree. I don't think it'll be a shootout. I think it'll be the exact opposite. I think it'll be like a.
You think it's going to be an?
I think it's going to be horrible to watch. I think it's going to be god awful football. 8 combined turnovers. It's going to be
a few turnovers. Yeah, I agree with Jake. I agree, 100%.
I don't. I think it'll be a fun. Again, I think it could be a fun game.
Are so bad. They're both really.
I wouldn't be shocked if they tied. If they tied 17-17,
oh my God.
I wouldn't be shocked.
That would.
That's funny.
Both teams get like 3 possessions in overtime.
All right.
And none of
Well,
them even get
looking
first
ahead a
down.
little bit, do you think this is any more? I mean, we talked about, Jake. You mentioned the next 3 games they can win. How do you rank the Giants matchup versus Washington or the Jets? Jets are probably the easiest game, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes to Jets, Giants.
I think, and again, I think the Giants should have beaten Washington. They had opportunities. Again, there was a pass that Jones had to Slayton, I believe it was.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good deep ball when, Slayton had his hands on it, should have caught it.
But
there was
have to consider
there was some other situational stuff that the Giants shot themselves in the foot. They should have beaten. I mean, and then you can talk about that last second field goal where Dexter Lawrence was or wasn't offsides. I thought he timed the snap pretty well, maybe. But, Giants should have beat Washington in Washington. So
it's a divisional game, though. That's just
you think that's what made it close? I guess.
Yeah. Also,
by
the way, we need to circle back to the whole snap timing thing, but y'all go ahead. I want to circle back to that.
I think that Washington is definitely better than the Giants. I think that they're a better coached football team. I think that before Ryan Fitzpatrick got hurt, which, I think Taylor Heineke and Daniel Jones do the same damn thing. That is a perfect – Daniel Jones might be a better passer, but they do the same thing. They play the same game. They barely run their offense, and they use their legs and take these – they get their first read, and if it's not there, they use their legs. That's all they do. So I'm not impressed. And I think the line is like 3.5, which basically means, that the Falcons and Giants are pretty much even. The odds makers are just giving the Giants these home field advantage points, basically. So I think it says a lot about the Giants. And I bet is Washington at home, or is it? I
think that's an away game. I think that's in Raljon.
I bet they'll be favored by at least 4, at least more than this game.
Wait, the week 4 against Washington, that's at home.
Oh, it's at home. I just knew it was the Philly game, and then the Jets game was considered a home game, and then I knew there was like a big drought of actual true home games.
What are we doing with the snap count? Give it to me. I'm curious.
So did you guys think that Tampa was cued in on Matt Ryan's snap count, because they were like jumping it very, very close, and a couple times they got called off.
Yeah, there was those 2 that they did get called for offsides. I mean, I actually didn't really consider it, so I can't say one way or another.
I can't remember who was.
I mean, we all know, I know Matt Ryan's cadence. I think we all do. When he gets in that rhythm of it, he's susceptible, I guess, to that, and maybe that's what they were trying to do. It happens. I think a lot of teams sometimes get a beat on it.
I think that even if they did, Matt Ryan definitely just realized it and then changed it up immediately after. Maybe they did, and I think Matt's right. It happens every week. I mean, the best defenders are the best, at that exactly, getting off the ball fast. But I'm excited to see these. Well, what we can look forward to is, basically they improved from week 1 to week 2. All you have to do is improve each week, and by the end of the season, you'll be happy where you stand. So at least they, improved from 1 to 2. Let's see if they can improve from 2 to 3. It's really what it's all about, improving.
Yeah. I think if they come with a similar effort that they did against Tampa, I think they win this game. But this is a big game.
I think it'll be a close game.
Yeah. No, I think so. Even a field goal, I think that line's pretty appropriate. I just think if you lose this game, you are already starting to look and think about the future.
Kayvon Thibodeau, Derek Stingley.
Oh, I would buy it. I would immediately.
I mean, whoever the best, they're at the point where best player available. If it's a quarterback, then maybe. I mean,
thank God all the quarterbacks this year are terrible. But
hey, Matt Corral, right? You like that Matt Corral?
QB1, only good one, only, and I say only good one. I mean only good one. Maybe.
Did you see the thing on Lane Kiffin. I mean, we talked about Lane Kiffin at the top of the show. Let's talk about him again at the bottom of the show here. He only follows 2 people on Instagram: Matt Corral and Arch Manning.
Yeah, I
That's
respect
cute.
that.
It's cute because
That's
he
his
knows
next
he's
QB,
coming-
right?
No, he's coming.
That's
to Baton
future
Rouge.
Falcon Arch Manning.
He's coming.
too.
He's coming to Baton Rouge, and then Arch will come to Baton Rouge with him, and it'll be all good. I mean, we'll just be winning
All right.
national
Hey,
championship after.
As long as he ends up in Atlanta, I don't care where he goes to college.
Well, here's the thing: is that the Mannings are so just like in tight with the NFL, they'll just be forced to give the Falcons a Super Bowl if we have Arch. So
yeah.
Yeah, you don't wait.
They might
you don't
pull
think
an
he would-
Eli. They might pull an Eli and be like, "I'm not."
Well,
going
that's what
to."
I was
What
gonna
if
ask.
they did that? How butthurt would you be, Matt? Like,
I just feel like that's not going to happen. I don't feel like that'll ever happen again.
I would deactivate my Twitter account.
I would literally I would just be on I would just take the most passive aggressive shots at him. I would just pull up some tape where he made 1 or 2 bad throws, but this kid just
I'm not gonna lie, that would hurt really bad. That would hurt me really bad.
so bad.
I really dude, if Trevor Lawrence didn't demand to get away from the Jaguars and Urban Meyer, I really don't think that's gonna happen again.
It's the Mannings though. Alex got a point. It's the Mannings.
That was 2003.
I could see it. It doesn't matter.
All of the people are still involved. Eli is involved. The grandfather is still involved. That's where it generated from.
Dude,
see, but the thing is with the
they're
Chargers.
not going to let this.
Okay, no.
Steve
So this was back
Bartkowski-
in the day. This was back in the day when they didn't have set amounts for each draft pick, and the Chargers were just being cheapos like they always are. They did it with Joey Bosa, and they tried to cut his signing bonus a time. That just won't happen again.
I think
Dude,
it was
Steve
more
Bartkowski-
about the place.
Steve Bartkowski literally said a year ago that if he could do it all over again, he would have forced his way out of Atlanta and wouldn't have been drafted there.
Damn.
That's him now, a 60-some-year-old dude
Right,
now
soft.
saying, well, yeah, that's what I said on Twitter. And I was like, not my QB1. But
who let's be honest. Let's be honest. Steve Bartkowski, off the top of your head, if you're under the age of 25, what number did he wear? What number did he wear, Alex? Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
Wore 12. Bartkowski.
I think it was
wore
11.
10?
That's my guess.
It was 10. Yeah. Good
It
job,
was
Alex.
10, yeah.
But I'm, people are going to hate me for it, but the Falcons are one of the poor franchises. And when I say poor, I mean, it's been misery. I mean, it's been misery for most of the franchises, 50 some plus years. So I wouldn't put it past a Manning family member to say, I want to go to a bigger
off but I like this.
Well, hey, if the Falcons lose this week, we're going to have this type of content on these shows throughout the season.
We're doing a mock draft next week if the Falcons lose.
All right, I'll leave that up to you since you're looking at draft prospects, and I'll say whether I like it or not. But anything else we want to talk about with this matchup? Anything? Plug anything?
I don't know.
You guys want to do a predict?
Yeah, I'll
ask
do
me,
one.
Alex. Do you say they're going to win?
I'll do one. I think the Giants win 21-17. They cover, but they hit the under. That's what I think.
Okay, Jake, you want
I kind of like
anything?
that too, but hear me out. This is my logic on this. The Falcons are so just ridiculous of a franchise that they'll just go out and beat the dog shit out of the Giants, and everybody will be like, "Oh, Falcons are back," and then they'll lose.
That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise
something
me.
like that. Yeah,
It really wouldn't.
Nothing. I put nothing.
Buccaneers Rams 4:30. It's a great get. That's going to be a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm still on the Matt Stafford MVP hype. I think, you look at around the league. Kyler Murray's been impressive. I just don't know how they're going to sustain that. Derek Carr's been impressive, but we've seen this story before early in the season. I think Stafford's and that offense is going to be sustainable all year. I'm really excited to see them go up against a Bucs team to really see where they're at. Because again, I'm still on that Rams Super Bowl berth. They would join the Bucs as back-to-back years where you play a Super Bowl in your home stadium. That'd be pretty neat.
The only problem is you have to listen, the Matt Stafford, Matt Ryan debates would just take up the whole summer, and I'm not trying to listen to that. And Matt Stafford's he's a DGD, and I love the man to death, but I'm not trying to listen to that.
Yeah, there'd be more of an argument, I guess, with if he would have some postseason success. It is what it is. I mean, we hear a lot of shit about Matt Ryan all throughout. It's never going to end. Even after his career, there's going to be that Hall of Fame debate, which it'll be exhausting.
I can't wait for that. Yeah, hopefully Twitter is just gone by then. That would be
that would be great. That would be great. I'd be okay with that. Anything you guys want to plug on the site coming up? Brady's going to make the playoffs, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen to Bloopers Brigade. I think we're going to record it tomorrow. It's great.
Yep.
All right.
Magic number's 10. Go Falcons.
Yep. True.
All right. Well,
Barkowski, number 10.
appreciate everyone tuning in to another thrilling episode. We'll be back next week. Might have a guest in mind for the Washington preview. But make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're hit the notification bell for the podcast. Leave a review. That'd be great. Leave a 5-star review. We would really appreciate it. But for Jake Gordon, Alex Lord, I'm Matt Karoly. This has been another edition of Talkin Birdy. Go Falcons.